Did America really surrender? Iran is putting the final touches on a golden trap for Trump. Today, I will present to you Iran's new three-phase plan that will change the face of the Middle East forever. It's clear today that Tehran is the one dictating the terms, while America is looking for a quiet exit that preserves only what's left of its former prestige. And today, I will explain to you how Iran turned the nuclear issue from a priority into just a minor detail at the bottom of the list. A break. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Dear viewers, peace be upon you and God's mercy and blessings, and welcome back to today's program, God willing, from our opinion series, which we always dedicate to keeping up with the latest developments and updates of this major conflict taking place in the Middle East between Iran and the Epstein Alliance. What's new today, dear viewers, which we begin today's episode with, is this new proposal presented by Iran, a proposal consisting of 3 stages. So when we review this new Iranian proposal, what are these 3 stages? We know very well how Iran still holds all the reins. Because Iran here was not content with just rejecting the American proposals, or with refusing to sit at the negotiating table according to these American proposals. The matter went beyond all of this, to the point that today, Iran is the one proposing the negotiation framework that can be relied upon. This negotiation framework presented by Iran consists of 3 phases of unspecified duration. All it means is that whenever an agreement is reached on the first phase, then they will move on to the second phase, negotiate over this second phase, and so on, until eventually all the disagreements are resolved. But when will that happen? This time, it will only happen when Trump gives in to the Iranian demands. And I'll explain to you why I say this, because I think this plan will be an important opportunity for the American president to get out of this predicament in a way that doesn't appear to the public as a strategic defeat for America. Because when I present this plan to you exactly, you will find that it might be the best possible plan ever, because without this plan, it is absolutely impossible to stop this war or guarantee this truce. And I'll explain to you exactly what I mean by this. In general, we find that the first stage of this Iranian plan, what is its main title? Ending the war and stopping the war. Iran says that the first stage of negotiations should focus only on ending the war. And when we talk about ending the war, of course we're talking about paying compensation to Iran. What will this compensation be like? What is the amount of this compensation? We are also talking about obtaining guarantees that there will be no return of any other military action against Iran or against the kingdom or against Lebanon. This means that the negotiations will only be at this stage. So the first stage is about ending the war and obtaining guarantees that there will be no aggression against Iran or against Lebanon as well, and also specifying the compensations that the Epstein coalition in general must pay to Iran. If an agreement is reached, the war will actually stop against Iran and against Lebanon. At that point, we will move to the second stage. Okay, that's good. After that, how will the second stage of negotiations be? It will be only about the Strait of Hormuz, discussing how to manage the Strait of Hormuz after the end of the war, and this will be coordinated with the Omani side, with the Sultanate of Oman. That means the only country that shares the waters of the Strait of Hormuz with Iran. So this stage will be exactly about establishing a new legal system regarding the Strait of Hormuz. Iran is fully determined to change the situation in this strait and in this region in general. That means Iran after this war will not be the same as before, and the rules for passage through the Strait of Hormuz will also not be as it was before the start of this war. So, Iran says that when we agree to a final end to the war, we will move on to establishing a new legal system in the Strait of Hormuz. If the agreement holds at that second stage, then we will also move on to the third stage. What is this stage like? Will it then be about the Iranian nuclear program? At that point, we can negotiate about the Iranian nuclear program. So here, we are talking about a serious Iranian plan that came in a way that Trump might take advantage of. That means getting out of this predicament, because the most important factor is that the time factor is not defined. So maybe a ceasefire agreement in its first stage could happen quickly, within a day, within a couple of days of negotiations. And this means saving Trump from this fragile truce, ensuring that there is no return to this war that America cannot, re-enter now. So Iran came up with this proposal instead of Trump coming out every time with a decision to extend the truce, which of course puts a lot of pressure on him, especially since Iran is not giving in to these American demands. In light of this very complicated nuclear issue, there could only be an agreement to stop the war. After that, the second round of negotiations would begin regarding the Strait of Hormuz, reopening the Strait of Hormuz, but under Iranian conditions, as Iran demands. This phase also has no set time frame, meaning it will also be subject to the logic of whoever holds the power in the negotiation process. Therefore, it is also clear that things will be in the hands of whoever can withstand the consequences of closing the Strait of Hormuz for a longer period. Iran closes the sea lane used for 20% of oil exports, while America imposes a partial naval blockade on Iran because there are ships passing every day. So the one who cannot endure will be the one to rush to end this war or to end this phase as soon as possible, while the one who is in a comfort zone, in a position of endurance, will hold on to his demands to the furthest point until the other side gives in. At that stage, no one will be able to predict how long it will last. An agreement might be reached in just 1 week of negotiations, maybe even less, or there might not be an agreement on this phase for many months or long weeks. Iran wants a new situation. It wants a new system in the Strait of Hormuz, but America rejects that. It will definitely be a difficult stage, a long stage, with great pressures and a global energy crisis that almost all countries in the world will suffer from even more. Today, preparations have begun to change the situation in the Strait of Hormuz because the head of the National Security Committee in the Iranian parliament has submitted a draft law consisting of 11 points that grants Iran full and permanent sovereignty over the Strait of Hormuz. Moreover, this new law will prevent all ships coming from countries that Iran considers hostile or connected to Israel from passing unless they pay compensation for this war. This means that, for example, Emirati oil or Bahraini oil or ships heading to these countries that have been silently involved in this war will not be allowed to pass unless they pay compensation for the damages caused by the war. Also, we find that a few days after the beginning of this maritime blockade imposed by America on Iran, up until today, according to the American newspaper Bloomberg, during the last 4 days, more than 34 Iranian oil tankers have succeeded in breaking the blockade. 19 oil tankers left the Strait of Hormuz and the Gulf of Oman towards their designated destinations. These are Iranian tankers, while 15 other tankers entered this strait heading to Iranian ports. Just today, there were about 6 or 7 tankers, I believe, that also successfully passed through the Strait of Hormuz. And as I explained to you in previous episodes, America cannot impose a naval blockade on Iran. It simply doesn't have enough ships for that. That's why there are specific routes these Iranian ships follow, and it's impossible to intercept them. American ships today can't even approach the Iranian coasts. So even to intercept this tanker, while Iran succeeds in closing and controlling the Strait of Hormuz, Iran has very strong naval tactics. Iran relies on what is called the Mosquito fleet. Thousands of fast, small-sized naval boats equipped with machine guns and anti-ship missiles can move quickly in any maritime area, suddenly and without warning. They operate according to the hit-and-run principle, attacking any tanker in just a few minutes, then disappearing. The important thing is that Iran holds the reins, and it has all the leverage to win these negotiations in its favor. And if an agreement is reached regarding the Strait of Hormuz, then we will move to the third stage, especially concerning the nuclear issue, which is even more complicated. Of course, what's certain is that the negotiations at this stage might continue for a very long time, maybe for many months. It's clear that America probably found this Iranian proposal suitable for it. Why? President Trump said that this new Iranian offer is more suitable than the previous one. Why did Trump say this? Because this proposal gives Trump enough time to quietly get out of this predicament. It means that over time, attention will shift to other issues. It could be Cuba, it could be Greenland, maybe Ukraine again, or a number of other issues. So, one thing ends up covering up another. So that America doesn't appear clearly, openly, to have suffered a major strategic defeat in this conflict with Iran, and to have been defeated even in this agreement. It's very clear that Iran is standing in the position of strength, in the position of the victor, to the point that today it's the one imposing the conditions, dictating the stages and the proposals. The German Chancellor Merz said it openly, perhaps for the first time, because Merz, who at the beginning of this war was saying that the Iranian regime was collapsing, today said that the Iranians are tougher and stronger. That's what he said, and he also said that the Iranians are negotiating with exceptional skill. Russian President Putin also said almost the same thing today, meaning that there are now acknowledgements of Iran's strength and this Iranian victory. Pay close attention. Iran has now succeeded in moving the negotiations with America to a completely new level. This new Iranian proposal, which is defined in 3 stages, sidelines the issue of Iran's nuclear program, meaning it makes it the last thing that could be negotiated. Let's first negotiate about stopping the war, and then if we succeed in that. Or more accurately, if you agree to our conditions, then we negotiate about the Strait of Hormuz, and after that, if you agree to our conditions regarding the Strait of Hormuz, we can then move on to negotiate over the nuclear issue, while, just so everyone knows, there will no longer be any discussion at all about Iran's ballistic missiles. So Iran is now sidelining the nuclear program file in a clever way with a proposal that appears to the Americans and especially to Trump as if it could be an opportunity to get out of this predicament, while in reality it will be an opportunity for Iran to gain more time to further reorganize its military capabilities before the start of the major battle. That's why these statements about strength and Iran's negotiation skills are coming out. The situation has completely changed. Pay close attention. After America used to drag Iran to negotiations using the language of threats and force, saying we'll strike, we'll kill the country's leader, and so on, today, it's Iran that is dragging America to negotiations according to its own proposal. Today as well, there was a visit by Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi to Russia, and he held a meeting with Russian President Putin. It's clear that the two of them discussed the strategic agreement between the two countries. This means that it was perhaps a Russian confirmation of this strategic alliance, or it means activating this strategic alliance. And here is a very important point. Russia now, after this war, is completely convinced of Iran's strength. Russia is convinced that Iran is truly a regional power in the area that can be relied upon. It has strengths, making it a genuine, strong ally for Russia, and it represents points of strength for Russia in the region. So it can be relied upon in politics, just so everyone knows. So if you want to know how things are going, or who the winning side is in a certain conflict, Just watch the moves or actions of the other countries toward this country. For example, at the beginning of this war, all the countries in the world were speaking badly about the Iranian regime, avoiding contact, basically distancing themselves from it, because everyone believed that the Iranian regime was finished, just a few days or even hours left, and it would collapse today. But what we actually see is the opposite. Countries have started trying to communicate and get closer to the Iranian regime, and they've begun to acknowledge that it's a strong regime, because they are now convinced that it will survive today. So everyone in the world will get involved. Everyone will work on normalizing relations with Iran in the future, because Iran has completely changed the equation. That's what we had for today. We'll see how things develop in the next few hours, and we'll be back, God willing. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. Peace be upon you and God's mercy and blessings. See you next time.